Once you hit record, I'll start. Or you're starting. Okay. Hello, everyone. It is welcome to the 2025 gardening season at the Chinquapin Organic Community Gardens. My name is Elizabeth Charles, and I'm one of the board members at the gardens. I'm in Plot 03, and I've been gardening at Chinquapin since 2017, which seems like a long time ago now that I say that out loud. But we've had this the last few years just as a welcome to the new gardeners, but also a lot of gardeners who've been around for a while come, because it's a great way for us to share information, tips about the gardens, some of the rules, as well as how monitoring, volunteering, the food bank, and other projects work. So we're going to have a variety of people do very short presentations tonight and just talk about things, and then we'll have plenty of times for questions. So we are so glad to have, I think, 8 or 10 of the new gardeners tonight that are here. And we are recording this, so we'll put it online if you have other questions, and we'll send around in the next few days, and we'll send around the slides, which have some of the links for the information. So don't worry about trying to write everything down as we go. So the first thing I want to do is introduce the board, and if you guys could sorry, I will stop sharing my screen so everyone can see everyone. So first I'll introduce our board chair, Richard. So if you want to just introduce yourselves and we'll go around. So I'll turn it over to Richard first.
Richard Dorier, I'm at T8.
And Anne is our co-chair, who many of you have gotten emails from already.
I'm an M5.
And Catherine.
Hi there, I'm in K7.
And Stacy.
Hello, I'm in F5.
And Lori.
Hi, I'm sorry, I'm having video problems, but I'm in T1 along the road.
And I think that's, and the other board members are Brad, as well as Julie, and I think that's it for now. But anyway, it's really great to have you guys. And what we really want to stress with this session and in general is we are a community garden. So we enjoy meeting each other, we enjoy helping each other, sharing information, sharing tips and tricks. I will talk more about this at the end, but on April 26th, we do have our first spring social, which is a way for us to get together, meet each other, share some delicious potluck food, seeds, other things if you have them. But it's a lot of fun. So I'm going to turn it over first to Richard and Anne to talk about the city rules, regulations, and some things. So I will turn it over to Richard to kick us off. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Richard Dorier, and chair of the board. Chinquapin is 53 years old, the Chinquapin Gardens. So we are an old established gardens. We're the largest gardens in the city. And we've gone through some evolution in how we manage things at the gardens. We currently we have an MOU with the city, and the city and our volunteer board, we're all volunteers on the board, co-manage the gardens at Chinquapin. So they do various things like turn on the water and help us with some of the repair work. And we cut the grass and weed and monitor the gardens. So we have a shared arrangement. And that's worked out pretty well. We have an MOU that describes that in writing, and that's how we are run. So the board is, as Elizabeth mentioned, you've met several of us. We have meetings every month, most every month of the year. Sometimes we meet at our community events, which she just mentioned. And you are welcome to attend those meetings. You get volunteer credit for attending the meetings. Did want to just mention to that we run the gardens with there are rules and regulations that we use to help manage the gardens, and I encourage every gardener, whether you're new or old, to look at the regulations. They came with your renewal when you signed up to renew, or they came with your acceptance for a plot from the city, and then you sent your money in to get the plot. So they also on our website, Chinquapingardens.org, and they have a number of things that we sort of have to, we all need to abide to. One of the things I just mentioned, just as an example, is putting how we use the trash bins at the garden. The green, of course, is for your yard waste, and the black is for other waste. There is a large item waste bin down by at the lower mulch bins at the gardens for larger items. Do not leave things lying around the trash bins. They don't get picked up. They need to be put in the trash bins, and if they're too large, taken to that larger area down by the lower garden mulch bins. The gardens, we are a community where we share, we enjoy our plots, and we share the paths that we have next to the garden, each of our plots. It's your responsibility to weed both your plot and the paths. And if you don't do that, the weeds get over into your neighbors' plots. So that's also certainly, and we do monitor that and look at that several times a year. And I think you were going to talk about the monitoring. So go ahead.
Yeah. Richard mentioned the city's rules and regulations for the plots, which you received, but as you know, rules and regulations are no good unless they're enforced. The city does not have the staff to check the plots to make sure they're in compliance. So we do that for them. So 5 times during the season, a group of gardeners, and you can volunteer if you would like, a group of volunteers get together and we actually check the plots. It takes about an hour, and we do it on a set time, on a set day. And we check all the plots, and then my lead gardener, Sharon Vanucci, and I go back through to double check to make sure that there's some consistency. And then we notify the city. We actually send them the emails that we recommend that they send to the gardeners, suggesting what they need to do to fix their plot. Most of them are really reminders, mainly about weeding, taking care of the past, things like that. They're not meant to be punitive. They're meant to be helpful, but just to remind them, we do have the regulations and they need to be, they need to be enforced. We have had some situations in which a gardener, for whatever reason, either gave up their plot or didn't do anything with it for, like 2 monitoring sessions in a row. And in those cases, we recommend the city that they give them 2 weeks to fix it or they lose the plot. Sometimes when that happens, which is usually late in the summer, people get tired and they've given up, the gardener may give up the plot. But there have been instances in which people have actually lost their plots. We're pretty lenient with it. We really don't want to lose gardeners, but by the same token, it's not fair to the neighboring gardeners if somebody doesn't take care of their plot. Sorry. Anyway, so I'm going to cut this off because I'm having trouble talking. But if you're interested in participating in the monitoring, just let me know. Happy to have you.
Anne is in charge of the monitoring, and we have that, as she mentioned, that is counts towards your volunteer time. We also, Anne has sent out a list to all the gardeners about our volunteer tasks. We have a number of things that are required. You required if you signed up for that, unless you paid more money to do 4 hours of time through for the year, which is not a lot, but so we encourage you to look at that list. It has the names on it of people who help manage some of those tasks. most of those won't be starting until a little bit later, but we do encourage you to get in touch with those people if you're interested in any of those tasks, to help. And if not, if we don't hear from you, we'll let you know later on in the garden season in the early fall, and encourage you to participate. And we'll come up with some things for you to do. So go ahead.
One other thing I wanted to mention about the volunteering is the purpose of the volunteering is we are doing the work that the city used to do for us. The city used to take care of mowing and tending the common areas around the gardens. They don't do that anymore. We do it. And that's the reason why we're able to keep our fees as low as they are, our rental fees. So it's pretty specific as to what qualifies for volunteer time. And it's not a lot of time. Again, as Richard mentioned, do it early in the season. It is important that you contact the person listed on the task list and don't just go off and do something and think it's going to qualify. I've had some gardeners take care of the paths around their plots and try to claim that. That doesn't work. So please use the contact person on the list.
Okay, Elizabeth, I think this goes
that's
back.
me. All right. And thank you. I will second what Ann and Richard have said. The volunteer hours to help us offset cost of the plots is amazing, but start early, clock it early. Don't wait until October, November to try to jam it in, because then
Right.
you'll be super busy. So I just want to second that sentiment. So I'm going to turn it over next to Stacy, who is on the board, but who is also helps coordinate the Chinquapin Food Bank project, which is an amazing project. So I will let Stacy tell you all about it. Thanks, Stacy.
No problem. Hello, once again, I'm Stacy. I'm here to share some information about my board project, which is supporting the food bank project. So this is first and foremost, a garden-led initiative. It's not managed by the city, so this does not count towards the same hours that Ann and Richard have just described. But it is fully supported by the city. We are gardening and growing, harvesting in 2 plots, C3 and G3. Hopefully I got that right. At no cost. So that's kind of how that balances out. So we do have a core group of dedicated volunteers who are invested with their time in planting, watering, gathering vegetables. And these items are harvested on weekends all throughout the season, probably starting pretty soon as we do early spring all the way into the late fall. And then the items are washed and packaged and delivered to the Mother of Light Center here in Alexandria. So it's really important to us that we are growing things that are directly impacting our immediate neighbors. And this is a significant effort. So we are always looking for more help, but it's definitely rewarding, fulfilling one. And if this is something that you're interested in, we're hoping that you will be able to help support this and hopefully enhance the impact that we have on our community. It is part of our memorandum of understanding, so we do have to keep our plots weeded and be good neighbors to everyone else in the garden community as well. So that's kind of where some of the maintenance and support is. We're looking for your help on that. So look out for some emails soon that will funnel through AN. We're looking to continue to brainstorm how to improve this project and gather more support. And thank you for joining our call today. If you have any questions, just let me know.
Thanks, Stacy. I have 2 questions for you, just since we're here and everyone's here. You guys still like to get like clamshell plastic containers from everyone, so you can leave them in the shed in these plastic bags. So like if you get tomatoes or lettuce in those plastic containers, then the food bank project can use those to deliver the food to Mother of Light. So you still want those washed clean but left in the garden shed?
Not
So we are
said.
going to inventory what we have
Okay.
right now, and I'm sure Anne's gonna tell me to clean up the shed. We have not done that yet, but once an email goes out requesting them, that is what we use to package up our materials. So it's lettuce containers, berries, strawberries, clean, things that are clean, free of food scraps. It could be takeout containers as well. Things that definitely need to have a lid that seals up.
Yep.
But
So
we'll let you know when we're ready for those.
eventually we will need all of those
Yeah.
things. Not right now.
Good
but-
question. What was your
Okay.
other question?
My other question was last year, do you remember how many pounds of produce we donated? I didn't want to put you on the spot, but it was a lot.
So we have not been able to measure successfully by pound, and that does vary because in the beginning we have a lot of lettuces that are lighter, and then towards the end we have heavy winter squashes. But we've been measuring in boxes. So the big flats, and we've had over, I'll underestimate and say over 10 boxes consistently throughout the whole season. And much more in the summer months when we have
Yeah.
things that are larger.
Yeah, it's $10 a week.
It's a
right?
full picnic table.
Yeah, it's
and more.
amazing. So those of you that are new gardeners, the food bank, I think we started it during the pandemic. It's an amazing project. We've donated a lot of food. It does really good for the community. So if you're interested in volunteering for that, it's a great project. So thank you, Stacy, for continuing to help coordinate that project. I know it's a lot of work.
I have a quick
So-
question.
Yes, Scott, go ahead.
Do you also accept donations from people's plots if they're raising more
Yes.
produce in their plots that they can eat?
That is where most of it comes from. And in the summer, if you're going out of town, you have extra zucchini, squash every Saturday morning. Stacy and her team will gather at the shed. If you have extra stuff, you can let them know if you're not able to go out and pick it. What you have, if you're out of town, they'll water your plot for you and take your excess vegetables. So there's a whole system that works really well for that. But we take not just from those two plots, but it's from the garden in its entirety when people have extra things, because we always have extra things.
Yep, but I did forget to mention that. So if you have your produce that's obviously we don't want it to go to waste, and we're there, we will help out with that. And we do ask if you could help volunteer a little bit with us the next week that you are in town, and that would be beneficial.
Yeah. Also herbs.
But yeah, more to come on that.
Herbs, they use everything. Everyone loves it, so it's wonderful. So good question, Scott. Thank you.
Scott, I send out on Thursday of each week, I send out a reminder to all the gardeners to let them know if they have any excess veggies, how to donate them.
So next up, I'm going to turn it over to Donna, who's one of our Chinquapin gardeners, but also a master gardener. And I'm going to share her slides, and she's going to run us through some information about the master gardeners, VCE, and other tips and resources. So give me a minute.
Okay.
You're gonna go to screen slideshow. There you go. Perfect. Alrighty. Thank you. This year we're celebrating 40 years of helping gardeners in the Alexandria and Arlington area. Master Gardeners is a volunteer organization of people that have become certified extension gardeners under the Virginia Cooperative Extension Program. And we specifically serve Arlington and Alexandria. There's programs across the state that are supported by Virginia Tech and Virginia State University. And we're the volunteer arm of the Virginia Cooperative Extension. Our office for Arlington and Alexandria is at Fairlington Rec Center in Arlington, right off Quaker Lane, quite close to the garden. It's like 5 minutes away. So we provide a lot of services regarding gardening, and it's not just vegetable gardening, it's landscaping, it's native plants, lawns. So we have a help desk that is now back post-COVID. providing in-person support, phone and email. And so if you go to the link there, it'll tell you how to get help in any of those ways. There's a form that you can fill out and email in and send them pictures. Or you can go in Monday through Friday, 9 to 12 at the rec center and get help. They suggest you call first just in case. We also hold plant clinics in the summertime at some of the farmers markets, including the Old Town Farmers Market on Saturday mornings. And we also do some plant clinics at the Arlington Central Library on Wednesday evenings, starting, I think, in April. We do a lot of free virtual classes. We used to do a lot of in-person classes, but then during COVID, we switched to Zoom. And we started going from 20 to 30 people in a class to sometimes 200. I guess during COVID, people had more time. And so they were really interested. And so we've decided that that was really successful. So not only do we hold those classes, but we record them. And we have a library of virtual classes that you can look at. And I'll give you a little bit more information on that later. We also have demonstration gardens. For vegetables, it's the Potomac Overlook Organic Vegetable Garden, which is not too far from Spout Run. So it's in Arlington. But you can go there and look at the garden on Wednesday mornings and Saturdays. They have volunteers there working and they can even answer questions. And that's a picture of it there on the right. And in the at the bottom, that's the square foot garden that they were showing as a demonstration where there's a different vegetable in every foot. You see the grid. And then we have a lot of other online resources on the website. A search tip that we're supposed to tell everybody is try to get respected sources. So if you at the end of your search phrase, you put site:/edu or site:/gov, you'll actually get university sponsored or government sponsored resources. And so we recommend that people do that as a starting place. Next slide. Can you do it or can I do it? Oh, you got it. Okay. So there's a ton of stuff on our website, and there's actually even a page just for vegetable gardening that you can find. But there's a couple things I think are very helpful for new and advanced gardeners. One is between the rows. So on a monthly, if you go to that link, on a monthly basis, we talk about specific things that could go on, like now it would be March and then April. And so it's kind of helpful if you're not sure. And then we also have stuff about the bugs that are going to start to come out in our area during those times of year. So that's kind of helpful. And then we have the vegetable references page, which has a whole lot of other resources. And then, like I said, we have the virtual classroom. So in there, if you go to that link, which takes you to just the vegetable training on vegetable stuff, there's an intro to vegetable gardening class. And then there's also a vegetable gardening without fear class. And they're pretty similar. I taught the vegetable gardening without fear class with another master gardener. And then Fatima Muhammad, who's also a gardener and a master gardener at Chinquapin, she taught a intro to vegetable gardening class in 2022 and 2023 and 2024. And so that's a really good class. And some of it was based on the vegetable gardening without fear. So I highly recommend either of those because we're not teaching them, we're not doing a virtual class this year. So all you have is a recorded class. So if we can keep going. So if you're new to Northern Virginia, if you've moved here, I always like to go through this really quickly. We're in zone 7A and 7B, but in a couple areas we've with the new 2023 plant hardiness map from the Department of Agriculture, we're in zone 8A. In our area, we're coming up to our last killing frost. I mean, you would kind of think, wow, the weather's so nice, we're done. But if you look at the temps coming up this week, there's actually a day where it could go down to 33. So that's getting close to still like being able to have a frost. At the end of the fall, our first killing frost is typically the beginning of November to the 10th. Last year is, I think, a little bit after the 10th, but somewhere in that range is really when we get our first killing frost. And that impacts when the city turns the water on. Ann didn't mention that, but the city won't turn the water on until I guess they're pretty sure we're not going to have a frost still. And then they turn it off at the end of the year. So they usually turn on in like maybe the first week in April, and Ann will let us know. And then they'll turn it off sometime in the in the first weekish of November. And so we get water just from those, from April to beginning of November. So that tells you that our growing season here is over 180 days. I mean, we have a long growing season. It's almost 210. Around here, we have a lot of hot summer days, over 90 degrees. And then we have nights that are greater than 70 degrees. Those are kind of important because then things like peppers and tomatoes slow down, like they stay green on the vine and people get really frustrated. But it's just because when it's that hot at night and that hot during the day, the process that causes the tomatoes to ripen and turn red slows down. So you just have to wait. Rainfall is kind of interesting. We have 40 inches a year on average, but some years we've had 64. We had in 2020, we had 57. We had a fair amount last year. Problem is, it's not like an inch a week, which is what you want for your planting. Sometimes we get no rain for a couple weeks, and then we get 6 inches of rain. So I recommend that people get a cheap rain gauge that just stick in the ground so you kind of know what we got in our garden, because what you get in the garden and what you get at your home 5 miles away can be different. And that way you know whether you need to water. Around here, we have a lot of clay soils. So it's really helpful if you add organic matter. And we have a lot of things that they make available to us here at the garden. We get mulch and we get leaf mulch, we get compost, and we have wood chips. So those are some things that are really helpful to improve your soil. And Elizabeth's going to talk a little bit more about that. Okay. This planting chart was put together by master gardeners quite a while ago, and it's really helpful. I usually have a copy of it printed out, and I keep it in my storage box at the garden to remind myself of what are planting dates. So purple and a P means you can plant now. If next to the plant it has a T, an asterisk, that means that's something that typically is transplanted out. Like you wouldn't take tomato seed and put it out to grow tomatoes. Where it says P for tomatoes or peppers, or let's see, at the top for some of like the broccoli and stuff, that means plant out transplants. Otherwise, where it says plant, you're going to plant seeds. So like peas, you're going to plant seeds. Doesn't mean you won't find some of those things already in transplant form, like say bush beans or something at a garden store. And you could buy them and do that, but you're paying like a $1 a plant or something, where you can get a whole package of seeds for like $3 or something. So anyway, the purple shows you plant, H and green shows you harvest, and then where it's yellow, you can still be planting. And if you plant it early, you're going to be harvesting. So it's kind of helpful to see where we are now, the end of March, and what we can start planting. Like you could be planting collards, and you could be planting radishes, and you can plant radishes for a pretty good long time. And you could be planting turnips and spinach. So if you're wondering, what can I plant now? That's some of the things. And if you go over to Green Street, I was over there today, they have spinach, and they have a lot of broccoli and cauliflower and cabbage and Brussels sprouts. And what else do they have? Swiss chard. So there's some things that you can buy right now if you don't want to buy seeds. And they have seeds for sale too. So anyway, that chart's really helpful. And then it'll show you what you can do for the warm weather plants in April and May, and then at the end in August, what you can do if you want to pick up again. So the link down at the bottom, you can get your own copy and print it out. And on the back side, it actually shows you some of the tasks that we do in the garden. So let's keep going. So here's where we are now. In March, early April, and then late March, April, we're going to prepare soil. So if you have your plot and you know where it is, you should get out there and take a look and think about weeding. Once you weed, if you're not going to plant right away, cover it with some leaf mulch so that the weeds don't have a place to come back and reseed again. And you can mix in some organic matter like compost once we get some. So this kind of tells you what you can do. Typically, you're not planting things like when we talk about warm weather crops, we're talking squashes, tomatoes, peppers. A lot of times not before the beginning of May, Mother's Day-ish. You'll see people plant some of those things late April. It's just a matter of sometimes we get a little bit of a cold weather or a little snap, and sometimes they get damaged, sometimes they make it. So it depends upon your risk factor. But anyway, this is kind of nice to just give you an idea of what the flow is of our garden season. So we can keep going. So These are what we call in the Master Gardener community, the best management practices. And I'm giving this to you. We talk about it a little bit more in both of the two training classes. I'm going to talk a little bit more about soil because I want to tell you how you can get your soil tested. And then Elizabeth will talk a little bit more about some of the things you can do to improve it. So that, I'm going to just cover those first couple, three things. In one of the training classes, we talk about how you can determine your soil drainage capacity. If you have a lot of clay, we don't have great soil drainage capacity in that case. If you try to put a lot, like dig and put a lot of like better soil up on top, what will happen if we get a big rain is sometimes the water will sit on top of that clay underneath the stuff that you added on top. And so sometimes it may be tough to grow things like, say, potatoes or something like that. If you sort of try to improve like that first foot and then leave the clay underneath, so you're better off trying to use some of the longer term methods like cover crops and all to improve your soils. I just say that from experience. But we sort of say right place, right time, right plant. So you want to know where the shady spots are in your garden so that you know not to plant things like peppers and tomatoes. And some gardens in Chinquapin are a little bit more shady, and some gardens have just full sun the whole time. And so it's kind of good to go check out your plot later in the day and see what's happening if you're anywhere near some of the big trees, or if some of your gardeners near you have like some of them have trees or big bushes, and so you can kind of see if any of those might be going to put a little bit of shade on your garden. We talk a little bit about companion planting and some of the classes that you can see, and we're going to talk a little bit in Elizabeth's session about some of the insects and some of the what some of the weeds are. So I'll let her do that. So let's keep going. But this is just to give you an idea of some of the things. So you can test your soil. It's an important thing to do to know what kind of pH you have in your soil and what kind of nutrients you have, so you know whether you're going to adjust it and add any kind of fertilizer. So you can prepare a soil sample and you can get a test kit free. We have some in the shed. It's just like a little box. And at the link at the bottom, it tells you a whole lot of information about it. And you'll get information about the pH of your soil and the any nutrient deficiencies. It won't tell you about nitrogen because it can't test for nitrogen, but it'll tell you about phosphorus and potassium. So that's the NPK that you see on fertilizer packages. So if you go to the next slide, so you'll see a little box like that. They're folded. You put them together, and then you're going to put soil in it to that line, which is somewhere around a half a cup. And it's going to show you on the back of this form that you can get at the link below how to actually take your soil sample, because you want to take it from different spots in your plot, like in I think it's 10 different spots, and mix it all together, make sure the soil is dry and not wet. And then you're going to put it in the box, and then you mail it off to Virginia Tech, and they will return it via email, the results, in about usually 2 weeks, sometimes even quicker. It gets busy a little bit more about this time of year. If you go to the rec center, to the cooperative extension office, you can get some of the boxes there, but we also do have them in the shed. So let's keep going. All right, that's it. And I'm happy if you ever want to come by my plot, and if you find me there, I can answer any. I'm happy to answer questions, or if you have puzzled about something, we can sort of investigate it together. Sometimes I have to go off and look for other resources myself to solve some of.
They also have soil test kits up at Green Street. I saw some in there the other day.
Oh, one more thing. They have some free seeds at the rec center at Chinquapin. I mean, at Fairlington. Not a lot. We used to get thousands of free seeds, and then they started shipping them overseas. Not sure why. Maybe they got a better deal on that. But if you go there probably during the 9 to 12 hours Monday to Friday, which is tough for people that work, but they have a couple of drawers with some seeds, and you might be able to find a few things that might be helpful. Otherwise you can buy them at all the garden centers.
Yeah. Thanks, Donna. That's amazing information. I cannot say enough about the Between the Rows newsletter is incredibly helpful, and all the online courses that the Master Gardeners have done are just so much information. They're really, really useful.
Good.
And we will, at the picnic on April 26th, we usually have some of the soil test kits as well. We'll try to bring some. So if you want to pick one up during the picnic, we should have some as well. So, and I'm going to next turn it back to Ann to talk about Andy's Chinquapin compost project.
Yeah, this is a project that one of our gardeners, Andy Biley in S7, started a few years ago. And it's this one little area that looks like a plot that's down in the lower end right next to the compost bins. And Andy puts in coffee grounds and yard waste and things like that in the piles. If anyone is interested in participating in that project, the deal is you contribute to it, and then you can reap the benefits from it once it's cooked. But you do need to get in touch with Andy if you want to participate, because he's pretty particular about what you put in the piles and how they're taken care of. One of the things we notice is sometimes people aren't very good about burying things down in the pile. So they're sitting up on top and becomes kind of bothersome. But if you're interested, on the handout we sent you before the meeting, you see Andy's email, get in touch with him. The next thing I wanted to mention is another thing that's really not part of the Chinquapin Gardens, but they're our neighbors. You might have noticed that there are some beehives down in the lower end, right behind the Dale May Grove area. That's where the bench is. And right now there are 4 hives, and they belong to local beekeepers. And we work with them. We love having them because the bees help pollinate our flowers, and if we grow flowers, we help the bees. So the deal is that they can have no more than 5 hives. That was something that they agreed to, and we agreed. We didn't want any more than that. Right now, there are only 4, so there's one vacancy if somebody wanted to apply to the city to have another hive. Feel free to go down there and take a look at them. If you walk quietly around them, you won't disturb them. They're not going to bite you. They only are going to attack you if you attack them. So, but I think there are a few. I was out there the other day, and there are, I think, one hive, at least a couple of hives. Sometimes they don't survive the winter, and the beekeepers have to start over again. But they usually do. And so please do check them out. And if you're interested in learning more information about them, I can put you in touch with a couple of the beekeepers.
Excuse me, and if I also could say something about the hives, it's better not to approach them face on.
Right.
In other words, don't just come inside, and don't approach them too closely anyway, but especially face on.
But you can see an awful lot of what's going on around them, and they have scouts. You'll see them flying around, and they're checking you out. If you keep your distance, they're not going to bother you.
Yeah, beneficial for us and for the honey.
Absolutely.
And
those of you who are growing flowers in your plots, that's terrific, because you're really helping the bees.
Yep, and we need that, so much of that. Next up, I'm going to turn over to Richard to briefly talk about the city compost program, which started a few years ago.
Yeah, okay. We have 4 mulch bins, 2 at the top of the garden and then 2 down at the bottom of the garden next to the parking lot. And in both the upper mulch bin and the lower mulch bin, we have wood chips, which is provided by Davy Trees. And we get that for free. And then currently in the lower mulch bin, there is leaf mulch, shredded leaf mulch, which the city provides to us free of charge, and that we use, that was mentioned about, that's what you use for weed control. So we have, that was just delivered last week. So there's plenty of that in the lower in the lower mulch bin. In the upper mulch bin next to the wood chips, it's empty at the moment. And we have ordered a product called Leaf Grow, which I think was mentioned earlier. It's a composting, it comes from a kitchen waste composting program that the city of Alexandria, the county of Arlington, Montgomery County, and PG County, and the District of Columbia all participate in as a commercial product that's both sold at Home Depot and Lowe's in bags you can buy, and we also get that delivered to us at the gardens. I'm hoping that will come in the next week or two. It's been ordered, so hopefully that will come, and that's a soil conditioner and composting to help in the clay soil that we have that Donna mentioned. It's a good product, and that should be coming very soon. Back to
Thank you. Back to me. Okay, and I'm gonna go back to our slides. Yes, I can't. The leaf grow is amazing. When it shows up, though, it goes quickly. Just FYI for those of you who are new to the gardens. I also want to thank Jonah for these slides. So I'm going to talk about, sorry, dogs. Too many dogs in my house. I'm going to talk about a few unfun things now about weeding and weeds and problem issues that we might have. So I will try to keep it quick and try to keep it light so we have enough time for questions. But we've all talked about soil prep. When I got my plot in 2017, I got someone to come in and till it for me. And I thought that was the greatest thing since sliced bread until the thistle and the weeds and everything that was buried in the garden now all reappeared. So if your garden is in really bad shape, you may want to consider tilling it, but it may also turn up a lot of unwanted visitors that you are not expecting to show up. So depending on if you have a new plot, whoever had it before you, check out your soil, really think about the consistency of the soil, how much clay, like Donna said, is buried deep down under. If you dig down a foot and you're still hitting clay, then you may want to think about it. But the leaf grow and any organic matter and leaf mulch will eventually help break all that down. So hopefully you're inheriting a plot. You may have a lot of weeds on top, but hopefully you have really good soil underneath. And the test kits will definitely help you figure all that out. So soil prep is important. But right now, what is starting, because it's spring, it's getting warmer, are all of these weedy friends that appear in the gardens and currently my yard as well. So we have a definite problem in the gardens in a lot of the pathways with the Bermuda grass, which is very, very difficult to dig out because you will dig it out and there will be the tiniest little piece and it will just completely regenerate. So, don't just rip it out from the top. You've really got to go under. If it has rained a lot, the soil is going to be more moist and it's going to be easier to pull the weeds. A lot of the weeds will pull out from the top. The hairy bittercress, that is the third screen over the third slide on the top, is popping up right now. I pulled a bunch out last weekend. The only problem with this little monster is those beautiful little white flowers pop out hundreds of seed heads, and they're going to spread in your garden and your neighbor's garden. So your weeds are your problem, but they're also your neighbor's problem. So we try to help each other. We try to weed as much as possible. We also do have goosegrass. The purslane is definitely a weed. It's edible, but I find it less of a problem because it kind of keeps some of the other weeds down. The creeping Charlie and Veronica Speedwell are definitely coming up right now as well. The dandelions and thistle I get throughout the year, and you just have to keep on top of it. So our best advice about weeding is cover portions of your garden with plastic or cardboard or something, or the wood chips from the bins. If you keep the portions of your garden that you're not currently gardening covered, it will help you tremendously prevent back-breaking weeding throughout the season. So those are just a few of kind of the common weeds that we see all the time. I think if we could all nuke the Bermuda grass, we would, but that's not allowed, so we're not going to do that. But oh, sorry, I should have also put this slide up. If the, like I said with the bittercress, if the weeds go to seed and blow around, that's the real problem. So the more you can reduce the weeds, reduce the seeds, reduce the spread, you're going to be better off. So in the walkways also, there's a method that many of us use to put down either cardboard boxes from your multiple deliveries. Put down cardboard. Like I try to pull the weeds in my pathways, then put the cardboard, then cover them in wood chips. And if you do that year after year after year, it will build up your pathway and reduce the weeds, even the dreaded Bermuda grass. So just do your best and work with your plot neighbors on all these projects, because the pathways are all collective and we want to help each other. And Donna has put in 2 really helpful weed ID links as well, which we'll send these slides around so you can see. So a few tips on pests and also things that grow really well and don't in our gardens. So we unfortunately have cucumber beetles in the gardens, or I have, and I've never been able to grow a cucumber. I grow glorious cucumber plants that look amazing, and they are beautiful, and they'll like overtake my trellis, and then 2 days later I come out and the plant is decimated because the cucumber beetle has attacked it. So I've gotten maybe 1 or 2 cucumbers. So cucumber beetles, we do occasionally get whitefly and aphids. I've gotten less of those than others, but the bean beetle is also a huge problem. I've never been able to grow regular green beans or French green beans. I have been able to grow Thai and Asian long beans because they seem to be resistant to this beetle. And that may just be the portion of the garden I'm in. Our gardens are large, so some people have no problem growing beans. But these are a few of the big pests that we do have. And I'll let, if any of the gardeners who've been around a while have tips about growing certain beans or other things that have worked. It may just be my area of the garden. I have had tons of aphids in my garden at home, but I've thankfully never actually gotten them at Chinquapin. We did try to grow turtle beans and another bush bean a few years ago, and I went one day and they were covered in harlequin bugs. And I mean, like I thought I needed a hazmat suit to go in the plot and clean them off. It was really horrible. But look, this happens to all of us. Don't be discouraged. We all work on this together. And if you see something, ask one of your garden neighbors. Hey, what is this bug? Why is this dying? What is happening? Because we've all been through it. We're all here to help each other. We just want to try to grow a bunch of great vegetables and flowers. But also, one thing I don't think we've talked a lot about is companion planting. Growing things for the pollinators can also help kind of detract some of the insects. We planted basil around our tomatoes one year, and that was a great success because it really helped keep some of the tomato pest away. But as Ann said, we have bees, we have beehives, and we need to help the pollinators in the world in general. So we always try to plant some flowering coreopsis, cosmos, zinnias. Not only are they pretty, but they're really beneficial for the insects and for your plants. And there's a lot of things you can plant in succession planting that will also really help. These are a few of the cosmos and the zinnias from seed, super easy seed packets, Green Street, Knowles out by me in Springfield, Home Depot, any big box store. You can get all these seeds. The fennel and dill flowering herbs, also great. And then I've planted some coneflowers, and a lot of people have other perennials in their beds, which come back year after year, which are really beneficial. for the insects as well as for your plot, because it does help keep the weeds down. If you have flowers and other things growing, you're going to have less weeds. So that is the end of slideshow. So I think at this point, the rest of the information on our handout that Ann emailed around is a few tips about local garden centers. Green Street is closest to the gardens. There's a lot of other garden centers around. Shanghai, Nature by Design are both native. So if you can plant native plants in your gardens, that's also excellent. So in the spring and summer, we have 2 social events for the gardens. So the spring social will be April 26th. They're both on Saturdays from 12 to 1:32ish. And all we ask is bring yourself. If you feel like you want to cook something, bring a potluck dish. It's always a potluck lunch. And we usually have a lot of delicious food, but we get to meet each other and socialize and share food. And in the summer, we love to use our tomatoes and zucchini and all the summer produce and make delicious food. So the summer event, garden picnic will be August 16th. So if you put both of those in your calendar now, hopefully you can join us. And for the summer event, it is also a tomato taste off veggie contest. And we also give awards for the best gardens, that the master gardeners go around and judge the gardens before the event, unbeknownst to all of us. And we give some awards for best gardens. So, and Julie, who's our other board member who is now on the call, helps us do fundraising. And we also do raffle events during both of these socials to raise money for paying for gas for the lawnmowers, lawnmower repair, all the other things that we need to help keep us going. So I think that is the end of the actual agenda. Unless any board members have anything else they want to chat about, we would be happy to take questions and do Q&A, and we are all here to answer any questions y'all have.
Elizabeth,
Just want to mention.
Elizabeth, one thing I wanted to mention when you were talking about the bean beetles, if you're growing bush beans, you can put netting over them, tack it down all the way around so the beetles don't get in. If you have a little hoop, you can put it on, keep it up off the beans, that's fine. Beans are self-pollinating, so they do not need pollinators on their flowers. And that stuff really works, but you really got to tack that down so those beetles don't get in underneath.
Don't crawl in. So the bush beans will work. Tip from
But
me.
bush beans, because they're lower, it's
They're
harder to do that on a climbing vine.
Yeah.
And there's actually cucumbers that don't need pollinating.
Yes.
There's a couple of varieties so that you could do the same thing with them. You could use row cover. If you look in my plot at M6, you can see that I have some stuff with row cover and hoops and all. And I was going to say that for beans and even for squash. It sounds really negative when you talk about it the way you do, Elizabeth, but really you can grow squash and you can grow bush beans and you can get some of that stuff. And yes, in some parts of the garden, I hear people have trouble. In other parts of the garden, people are getting tons of cucumbers.
Yeah.
I'm not that
And-
lucky either.
But give it a whirl. Look,
Yeah.
gardening is all about trying.
Yeah.
You try. Some years you have amazing tomatoes. Last year we got it varies so much from year to year. But we are all in this because we want to try and see what works. But yeah, the covering things is also a great idea because that does really help keep the pest out. I see a few things in the chat. So Miriam said she's always overbought seeds. So Miriam, if you want to bring seeds to the social in the end of April, and try to share them with people, that's great. Or even just talk to people around your plot. I share seeds with my neighbors all the time. So, but she says she'll be around this weekend between 9 and 11 if anyone is interested. So. Do we have any other just general questions from any of the new gardeners or anyone else? Everyone is being way too quiet.
I could mention that you mentioned the awards that we do in the summer. One of those awards is for the best new garden. And so, and we are judged by, how well what you're growing and how your plot is weeded and does it look successful. And so we do give an award for the best new gardener. So that if that's to encourage you to get out there and garden with the rest of us. One thing I would mention also on the back to the cucumbers, I've found that if you plant later in the year, you can wait even to the later in May, beginning of June. We have such a long growing season and it's plenty hot that helps. I don't know whether bugs they go further north or something, or it gets too hot for them. I don't know what, but that does help some with the cucumber beetle.
Good. Give that a try, everyone. And I see another question about rabbits in the chat. Yes. You want to give us your rabbit stories?
I had real problems with rabbits last year. So anybody's got any tips on how to deal with them?
Where are you in the gardens? Because
I'm near you, I think, Elizabeth. I'm
I
at
feel like, yes.
M3, M2, I think it's M2.
Yeah. So my neighbor, so I'm in 03, so I'm really close to the sidewalk drop off. But my
Yeah.
neighbors Patty and Rose, we think had a rabbit family living in their plot because someone helped me, and I'm not sure, it might have been you. I found an injured baby rabbit and took it to the Vola Lawson shelter last year because it had clearly been, I think, picked up by a hawk and dropped in my plot and was, anyway, they saved it. They took it to the rehab center, but I did not know about the baby rabbits and the mother rabbit until the next week after I'd found the baby rabbit in my plot. But they were eating all of Rose and Patty's like lettuce and something else. So we clearly had some rabbit families last year, which was the first I had really seen of that. But again, I've only been around a few years. But we have had a lot of chipmunks. Also, the chipmunks were getting our tomatoes last year. I do not have good answers for any of these things because we are an organic garden. We can't put out, the repellent, and we don't want to put out the repellent, slugs and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if anyone else has good ideas. I've tried to kind of net off the outside of my plot, but I don't think that matters. I think they get under it anyway. So if anyone
I think where they were getting under was my door. And I think the side, I got some chicken wire to shore it up, but I haven't tried using that yet. I think they were mainly getting under and going after my strawberries.
Yeah, and Lori did just post that you can actually get organic rabbit pellets that are garlic and hot pepper. So that might be worth a try.
Yeah, I think on YouTube I heard that you could get like Asian chili oil and do a spray.
Yeah.
But, every time it rains, you got to redo
Right.
it.
And I've actually done that in my garden at home with the squirrels are everywhere. And I try to spray things with the pepper spray sometimes.
Does that work for you?
Yeah, till it rains.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I have another question, and that is with the leaf grow, are you supposed to dig it in, or do you use it like mulch? Do you lay it on top, or do you sort of dig it in?
You can
So
you
the
can do
leaf,
either. I just lay it on top.
yeah.
Okay.
After it rains, it'll work its way into the soil.
Yeah. It really does. It eventually just gets down and it really does help break that clay down. When I got my plot originally, I feel like this was before we were getting it from the city. I think I got 6 or 8 bags and just spread them everywhere, and it really helped break down the clay.
Great. Thanks.
Do we have any other questions from any of the new gardeners, old gardeners, anyone? Other thoughts? If not, we're really looking forward to seeing everyone April 26th, which is the last Saturday in April. Earth Day is the 22nd, so we've been trying to not do it the same weekend, but it's in the middle of the week this year. But Julie, am I right? We'll have some raffle items for the April 26th picnic. So
Correct. Yes.
you can bring cash for the raffle tickets, or we have a garden Venmo. And Ann and I will get together information about the actual social event and send it beforehand. But it's for the new gardeners, it's at the pavilion right on the other side of the basketball court, right by the garden. So it's very convenient. We will hope that it is warm and not raining and a good weather day that day. But we will also kind of just introduce ourselves and give you some other garden information at the event on the 26th. And in the meantime, all I can say is if you're in the gardens and you see new neighbors, introduce yourselves. We all like talking about gardening and what we're doing and want to learn from each other. So,
And please don't hesitate. Contact any of the board, any of us.
yes.
If you have any questions about the gardeners or gardens or what's allowed or not allowed or suggestions, we all learn from each other. So please do that.
Yes. And have learned a lot from each other. I've learned a lot from all my garden neighbors over the years. So it's a wonderful community. So, and we're glad to have all the new gardeners join us this year. So yeah, so I think that's it. Unless we have any last minute questions. And thanks to all the presenters for showing up on a lovely night. And we will see everyone in a few weeks and out at the gardens in the meantime.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.